All right, we are in lesson 10, the last lesson in volume 1. So let's go ahead and get started. We have two new letters. We have kaf, which makes the K sound, and we have ayin, which is silent like the aleph. Kaf is also one of those we talked about when we were learning kuf. When you see English letters used to transliterate Hebrew words, kuf is usually transliterated with a Q, and kaf, which we're learning in this lesson, is usually transliterated with a K. And kaf, just to let you know, is one of those that when the dagesh is not there, it's going to make a bit of a different sound, and we'll learn that in volume 2. But we have no new nikudim or vowels to learn, so let's go up and try to pronounce and figure out our key words. This is our first syllable here. This is our second, so it's going to be ivrit, ivrit. And ivrit means Hebrew. And here we see a Hebrew text with the nikudim, with the vowels. And here we see a Hebrew text without any nikudim. This is the style of Hebrew font that's used in a Torah scroll. And you see here, this is the letter chet, and it almost looks like two other Hebrew letters put together, compared to this over here. This looks more like what you would see in a book form of the Torah. And then our next word is kita. Kita means classroom. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's read our little story below. All Jews share the special gift of Ivrit, the Hebrew language. It is the language of Torah and of prayer. Ivrit is also the language spoken in Israel today. By learning Ivrit, you connect yourself to all Jews everywhere. In Israel, you can hear more than 100 different languages spoken by Jews, but they need to speak Ivrit in order to work and shop and eat. The early leaders of Israel formed an ulpan, a kind of kita, for teaching Ivrit to new citizens. The lessons are taught using Ivrit only. Even children go to their own kita in the ulpan until they know enough Ivrit to begin regular classes. All right, so we go, remember our keyword here is Ivrit, and now we're going to practice. Remember that the ayin is silent like aleph. So we're going to look to the nikud to tell us what sounds to make. So we have ad, ra, im, im. Notice that these make the exact same sounds, but they're different letters. And in Hebrew, because these are all words in Hebrew, they actually have different meanings. All right, 2, va'ad, avol, uga, lavu, aluv. Okay, 3, chashuv, aviv, kavua, avit, ma'agal. Let me go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Sorry, not that far. Okay. Zabar, Haksuva, Zibur, Chavila, Zabarit. Let me do this one again. Zabarit. All right, 5, Agala, Ubar, Ugav. And notice in these two, there is no nikud underneath the ayin, so I look to the next vowel. So Ubar and Ugav. Avur, Ba'alut. 6, Mitzad, Mivsar, Nilhav, Mivza, Inyan. So on this one here, Mivza, notice there's no nikud after it, so this becomes silent. All right, let's go down. So 7, Avdut, Livluv, Tzimtzum, Avla, Zivui. And then our cool word, our cool Hebrew word would be Shavua, which means week. Shavua. So Shavuot, weeks, would be the holiday of Shavuot, means weeks. And then at the end of Shabbat, we say Shavua Tov, have a good week. All right, let's go to our next page. Keywords are Ivrit and Kita. So now we're going to have a little work with Kaf. We have Kur, Kan. Notice the Aleph is silent. Kan, Kush, Kara, Kama. Notice that the Kuf and the Kaf make the same sound. 2, Kavul, Ka'av, Kadur, Kavash, Ki'ur. 3, Adayin, Akavish, Arika, Naaman, Atika. All right, 4, Minyan, Binyan, excuse me, Kakyan, Barkan, Avaryan, Kippur, Katuv, Kakatuv, Mishkan, Birkat. Let me go down. Chivarti. Sorry, I messed up on this. Let me try that again. Chibarti. Divakti. Iyanti. Kivanti. Ziyarti. 7. Hatza'a. Mivraka. Hashva'a. Mivra'a. Mitzba'a. And then our cool Hebrew word is kippah, or the little skull cap we have. Some people call it yarmulke. All right, they want you to practice writing the 2 words with the K sound. Notice that kaf stays within the line and kuf goes below. And then practice ayin. And notice, and I struggled with this when I was learning ayin, that this part of ayin takes up the whole line. Sometimes it's tempting to draw it underneath the line a little bit, but it stays within the line there. And then you practice aleph and ayin. Okay, it says circle the silent letters in the bulletin board. So it's just going to be aleph and ayin. All right, it says in the blank spaces, write the Hebrew letters that sound the same. So what sounds the same as Vav? It would be Bet without a Dagesh, which we learned as Vet. What sounds the same as Kuf? It would be Chaf. What sounds the same as Aleph, although sound's not the right word? It would be Ayin. They're both silent. Match the tables and chairs for the Kita and the Ulpan. Draw lines between the words that sound alike. So you have all and all. And notice, yes, they sound alike. They have very different meanings. All and all. Kana, kana. Again, these are 2 different words that sound exactly alike. Kadad, kadad. Kaval, kaval. And then you can practice with the set down here. Okay. And make sure I didn't go too far. There we go. All right. So our new vocabulary is bakita in the classroom. Remember, the bait can be with, but in this case, it also be in. So bakita in the classroom, and then all is on. So write all or tachat to show where the mouse is. Remember, tachat means under. Under. So this would be the mouse. Is it on the boy or under? Mouse is over the boy, so it'd be all. Here it would be tachat. Here it would be all. Here it would be tachat. Now I want you to write babayit or bakita under each object. So in the house or in the classroom. So this would be bakita in the classroom. This would be babayit in the house. This would be bakita in the classroom. This would be babayit in the house. Okay. Next page. Okay, so another vocabulary, al-yad, next to. So, mi bakita. Oh, sorry, they have these down here. They want you to match the answers to the questions above. So, mi bakita, who is in the classroom? So, let's see. I have to go down a little further. Avraham bakita, Abraham is in the classroom. So you'd write that up there. Number 2, ma b'mayim, what, not who, but what is in the water? Dag b'mayim, fish is in the water. So you'd write that. Let's do one more. Ma b'bayit, what is in the house? Yayin b'bayit, wine is in the house. So keep track of me, which means who, versus ma, which means what. And you can finish that. All right. It says look at page 78 and write the line number that matches each. So this would be what? This would be dag b'mayim. The fish is in the water. This would be hagir bayad. The chalk is in the hand. And so you would just match those. Okay, now we're back to our family tree of words. So we have 3 new sets. So we have the word for standing, amad, amda, amdu, amida, amadnu, ma'amad. So where is our root? Ein, mem, dalet. You'd write that there. Okay. And we have for writing katav, katuv, hakatuv, kakatuv, katavti, katavta. And can you figure out what would be our root words? Be kaf, tav, and beit or veit. And then we have evening, ma'arav, ma'ariv, hama'ariv, arvit, aravim, ba'aravim. And then, so what's going to be our root letters? It's going to be ein, resh, and veit. And just a note, like we learned in lesson 9, most Hebrew words have a 3-letter root. And I know of people that once they learn the Aleph Beit, when they really want to learn Hebrew, they focus on learning all the major um, root family trees, the three letter Hebrew roots. And the idea is that if you can learn those, and then you understand what different prefixes and suffixes that are added mean, you can read Hebrew. I know of a man who was a computer programmer, and he really wanted to be able to compete with Tanakh competitions, Hebrew Bible competitions. And he was not raised with Hebrew, and he was not raised with the Tanakh in Hebrew, the Jewish Bible in Hebrew, but he's a computer programmer, so he thinks like a programmer. And so what he did after learning the basic grammatical skills of Hebrew, the letters and the nikudim, is he got a list of like the 300 most common three-letter roots in the Hebrew language, and he memorized them. And then he learned the prefixes and suffixes, and that really helped him with learning to read the Bible in Hebrew, and he's been in competition since. So it's just, that's one of those things that's really important. And I know myself, sometimes when I'm struggling to understand what a Hebrew word means, if I'm with somebody who knows, like I know a rabbi who is he's excellent with Hebrew grammar. He's really a grammarian. He knows proper Hebrew. Believe it or not, Israelis don't necessarily speak the most proper Hebrew, just like most Americans don't speak the most proper English. But he knows all the grammatical rules, and when he will, and because he's from a much older generation where that was their standard, they didn't want to speak the Hebrew of America or read the Hebrew of America, and they didn't want to read the Hebrew of Israel. They wanted to read the correct Hebrew, the grammatically correct. And so he knows all these grammar rules. And sometimes when we're studying and I don't know the meaning of a word, he'll say, okay, the root letters are, excuse me, and he'll say those, and then it's like, okay, that's what that means, and then you figure out from the context. So just something to be aware of for the future. Okay. Our cool Hebrew words. Amidah, the standing prayer. Amidah just means to stand, or the standing. That's the standing prayer. The Amidah is one of the most important prayers. This prayer is said while standing. Thus the name. Okay, so here you have a word search, and that's to help you with your Hebrew. And if you don't feel like doing the word search, what I would do is I would just say, okay, can you say these words in Hebrew? Sabbath, Shabbat, fish, dog, mother, Ima, father, Abba. What's read on Passover? Haggadah. What's eaten on Passover? Matzah. What's hand? Yad. How do you say I? Ani. The blessing on wine, Kiddush. Wine, Yayin. Purim, Purim. And I'd practice saying these and I'd practice writing them. But if you want to do the word search, do the word search. Okay, so then you have your evaluation. And you can just go down the list and practice them. Ku, Hagan, Anu, Yama, Bakasha, and just Ayin, and just kind of go through and you can practice those on your own. And then the last thing is a little dictionary based off the lessons. And it's kind of the opposite of what we were doing with the word search. So can you look? And this is what I say before moving on to volume 2. Can you look at these and write the definition? If it says Abba, can you write what that is? Ima. And fill this out. And if you don't know, right here, this is the lesson that the vocabulary is in. And go back to that lesson. But fill those in and see, those are basic vocabulary words. Milon, that's dictionary in Hebrew. Just basic vocabulary words. Go in and fill those in if you don't know the meaning of them. See how many you can fill in on your own first without looking back at the lesson, and then just kind of consider that. Review any words that you don't remember before moving on to volume 2, but please move on to volume 2. When I started using this text, I did not realize that volume one does not cover the whole Aleph Bet. I have different series for teaching Hebrew, and there are always more than one in the series, but almost always volume one covers the Aleph Bet and the basic Nikudim, and then the more complex rules are in the following volumes. And so I just assumed that was the case. I did not realize that volume one doesn't cover the full Aleph Bet. But please don't stop until you have reviewed all the letters of the alphabet, all 22 letters. So please move on. Even if you're struggling a bit, make sure you know the letters, the names of the letters, the sounds they make, and the sounds of the Nikudim. And if the vocabulary is not coming along at the same pace, that's okay. But know the letters. If you already know the letters, then that's fine. Then work with the vocabulary. But Aleph Bet is accessible to everyone. Not everyone's going to become fluent or even conversant or even average with Hebrew, but everybody is capable of learning the Hebrew letters. Everyone is. Okay, that's it for now.